Afie, welcome. Afie Jurvanen, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Bahamas.
Pleasure.
Good to have you back. Not cool anymore? I don't know. What do you think? It's just like, it's different. It's different being a little older. You talk about how you were cool when you were 24. What was it like when you were 24?
I was very not cool. I was not cool at all in high school, and I'm so grateful that I found music because it kind of gave me a lot of confidence just to put myself out in the world. And it's also, as you know, just sort of comes with a whole social component too. So for those of us that are a little more introverted, it's good because it sort of forces you to kind of meet people and learn how to relate to people. And
but wasn't there the coolest like music scene in Toronto where everybody knew each other and you're all kind of playing with each other and getting?
Well, see, that's the great thing about Wikipedia is I didn't grow up in Toronto.
Oh yeah.
And but I'm sure there was.
Where did you grow up? Where did you grow up? I didn't. I just guessed.
No, I know.
And I guess
that wasn't what's written on the page. I shouldn't have said that actually. But.
No, it's fine. I just.
No, I grew up in about an hour north of Toronto in a town called Barrie, Ontario, which a lot of people lovingly refer to as the armpit of Canada.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys probably have that down here too. But
is it an industrial town or why is it
was?
armpitish?
It had a brewery. It had a General Tire plant, and like sort of. Cliched story, all those sort of jobs went away, and then the city really changed. But when I was growing up there, it was a wonderful place to be a kid. I was fishing and riding my bicycle and just throwing rocks at things that I climbing fences and stuff. And then as soon as I became a teenager and got into art and music, suddenly it was the most horrible place to be because there was about 6 other people who were interested in what I seemingly was interested in. So,
and school was not like your sweet spot.
I did not graduate from high school. Mm-hmm. I received an honorary high school diploma later in life, which one of my daughters was there when it was quite a sweet actually. My mother was there, so that
a kind of vindication.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. And then I kind of realized how useless it was, dude.
Yeah.
But I think
but useless.
If I'm being completely honest, I think they rejigged the numbers a little bit. And they have some new way of calculating the credits, so they're like, actually, you did graduate.
They lowered the bar,
in like 2014 terms or whatever. You're smart as the rest of us or whatever.
That's very sad.
It says a lot about some. We probably shouldn't wade into that subject, but I don't know if they're lowering the standards or what. But anyway,
But let me ask you also, because your family's
let's cut that part out, shall we?
No. Listen. That's we'll figure it all out. But your family's. Let's follow up on that a little bit here.
Sure.
Instead, your family's from Finland.
They are.
And so when you were a kid, you spent some time in Finland with all your cousins.
I did. I spent a lot of time there. My mother's from Finland.
Yeah.
My mother actually was Miss Finland in like 19-something.
Wow.
That was like the least impressive thing about my mom's life.
Yeah.
For the record.
Is that on Wikipedia?
Probably not. Although she'd be much more boastful about those types of things than I would be. But anyway, she moved to Canada and started a life here. And I was born. And anyway, she raised my siblings and I as a single mother. And we grew up pretty humble, pretty meager. More than most and less than most. So I don't know how you say it. But anyway, they used to call it. Poor, but we don't say poor anymore. You say low income now. I don't know how you say that. That's the way we grew up. And
but when you got to Finland and you saw your cousins,
but I was getting to that.
Yeah.
Before you started talking.
Yeah, right. I was trying to save you.
You were trying to. I know. I was wading into some dark territory.
Yeah.
Anyway, all that to say was that my mother sort of figured out it was cheaper to fly me by myself to Finland than to pay for childcare.
Wow.
Or like summer camp or whatever, because at that time you could get a flight on Finnair for like $500.
Yeah.
So on the last day of school, she would send me on a plane. At that point, parents were a little bit different back then. They would ship their children off internationally unsupervised, and I loved it. I got to go in the cockpit back then, and they would give you endless ice cream and stuff. And I had a little special hat that I wore, and so as like an 8-year-old, I would just go to Finland for 2 months, and my mom has 12 brothers and sisters. And one of them would be there to receive me at the airport.
Did any of them speak English?
Yeah, they do. They're Scandinavian. All
Yeah.
Scandinavians speak English.
So,
you know?
and you didn't speak Finnish. You didn't grow up speaking Finnish.
Well, no, but I just through osmosis, I do speak Finnish quite well,
cool.
actually. But
Oh,
it's kind of useless.
Yeah.
As there's only 5
like-
million of us that speak Finnish. I'm quite proud to speak Finnish, but at the same time, I don't have many practical applications for it.
Right up there with your high school degree, high school diploma. Yeah.
It's kind of like a lot of my life, frankly.
Yeah. Well, you've done well with what you've got. Let's
Appreciate it.
just
Thank
say
you.
that. Yeah. The international aspect must have been cool though, because when you came back to your armpit of Canada town as an 8-year-old, having spent a couple months in Finland, you knew some tricks. You knew some things that your buddies didn't know. You were exposed to different things, and
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's so easy as an adult to sort of decide what the narrative of your life is, you know? Because you can decide it can be whatever you want it to be,
Yeah.
you know? And I could decide that my story is a tragedy or it's some sort of triumph. I rose from the ashes or something, you know? Or, you know, I'm sure I had so many advantages because of that. But I don't know if I was ever really aware of them, and I'm probably still trying to figure that out as an adult, and will be for my whole life, you know. So
I noticed you do have an appreciation for, if not a fascination, with ice cream. So that may have started in
that's
Finland.
kind of why we moved to Nova Scotia,
Yeah.
frankly. They have this very special ice cream out there called Privateer's Bounty, and we were out there for we used to spend just the summers out there.
Yeah.
And I was telling my friends in Toronto about this ice cream. Nobody seemed to care all that much, but anyway. Eventually, we entered in some real estate situations, and we sold our house, and we moved out there. And I went up to the corner store, and I said, "Do you have any Privateer's Bounty?" And the guy said, "I think we have some in the back somewhere." And he went in the back, and he says, "It's not very popular. You can just have whatever's left." And he had this big bucket, like an 18-gallon bucket or something.
Wow.
And there was probably half of it. I ran home. I decanted it into these smaller vessels. And I was phoning people in Toronto trying to tell them, they're just giving this stuff away. You guys gotta get out here. The houses are cheap. It's insane.
Ice cream's free.
It's crazy. If most of you work from home, just come live in Halifax and do it.
Yeah.
Come on.
I love Halifax, actually.
Yeah, it's a
I
good town.
hitchhiked there when I was 17 years old, and found myself falling in with some like street musicians, and was offered a spot on a Canadian television show.
Which one?
I have no idea,
Don
because
Messer's Jubilee?
it could have easily been Don Messer's Jubilee, but when they found out I wasn't Canadian, the offer was rescinded.
Well, we have a lot of Canadian content laws that
Exactly.
prohibit guys like you
I
from
realized it was affirmative action of one
coming
kind
in
or
and taking
another.
our jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. But I did have a wonderful time there. And let me just quickly talk about, you made a record, and to me this record has a little more of a country vibe. It's maybe just because the pedal steel and the feel of it is it just feels sweet. It has a kind of a sweet vibe to it.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm very proud of the songs that kind of put together for this record. But basically, the whole thing kind of came together because, believe it or not, I keep on getting asked to go down to Nashville and write songs for other people. And I'm so terrible at it. I've tried it a couple times. And, and so I'd get in these rooms with people, and we'd come up with ideas. Some they're kind of cool, but you know how it is. It's a lot of those ideas don't make it to the general audience or whatever. So anyway, I enjoyed the experience. I love the songwriting. I love the narrative applications. I just love the traditions and all that stuff about country music that we all love. And I sort of grew up listening to a lot of music. Just Willie Nelson and Vince Gill, and just nothing. I'm not going to turn you on to anything you haven't heard about before, but I just love all that stuff, and the timing just felt good. I had done this thing during the lockdown, this sort of virtual album called Live to Tape, where we recorded with musicians all over the world, and one of them was a Nashville session.
Yeah.
And at that point, I decided that I'm going to employ some serious age discrimination when I make my next record, and I told my manager I only want to work with people who are in their 70s or older. And it's getting harder to do that because it's not, So anyway, the drummer, I think we had to make an exception for him. We couldn't find a drummer that was old enough. The drummer got sick or something the day before we were supposed to.
There's a
record,
kind of a narrow window that
As you can tell, I'm not prepared to talk about or promote this record at all. We just decided yesterday, you know what? Who cares? Let's just play some new songs.
Yeah.
We've never played any of these tunes since I recorded them, so we're going to see what happens. But anyway, I recorded in Nashville with octogenarians, and if you like slow, sort of boring music, then there's some of it coming out in September, and I hope you'll enjoy it.
I called it sweet. I called it sweet. Yeah, it's got a sweetness to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
And there's also, let's not forget that Nova Scotia has a little bit of a country music legacy. That, Hank Snow is not someone that everybody's familiar with, but he's Nova Scotia country music royalty.
Absolutely. And there's a ton of, because it's so geographically isolated, there's so many great artists that just literally operate in that area.
Yeah.
They'll play in PEI in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and they'll sell out places, just pack the houses all. But as soon as they cross the border into Quebec or Ontario, no one's even heard of them.
Two more things I want to ask quickly. One,
Please.
What kind of music do your kids like to listen to?
Certainly not mine. That's a great question. We can get them out here and ask them. They're downstairs right now, probably watching whatever we're doing on the TV. But we listen to a lot of the Beatles. That's, again, not the most original thing to say, but that's just such good music. It's almost, so much of it is so childlike. It's just so playful in so many ways. So, believe it or not, there's a Kanye West record. I know he's not the most popular guy, but he found God, and he made this beautiful gospel record. And there's no swearing, there's no talking about all the usual sort of suspects, but the rhythms are so amazing and the lyrics are so good. So we listen to that a fair bit, and it's kind of really, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but it's really good. It's really good. It's just good music, and it's positive, and so more and more in my life, I just want to listen to things that are inspiring, and then the kids really respond to that,
Second thing I want to ask you about quickly is that I read something you talked about, how there is a place we can find when we're playing music, particularly with other people, that is so present, that is so immediate, that is so engaging, that it stills our mind, quiets our thoughts, brings us into this place that's sort of being, it's almost a form of enlightenment. And that you also find that in fishing.
I do. I try and find it more in all kinds of different ways throughout the day. But I certainly have found that in fishing. There's a moment when you do a perfect cast, and the fly hits the water, and it's just drifting there, and it's almost in slow motion. And the fish comes up, takes the fly, and you just lift it's not some big show. You just lift the rod like that, and you have you're totally aware, you're totally conscious, you're totally present, but you're not thinking about anything. You're just there in the moment. And I think so many of us are trying to find that through yoga or meditation or other things, and I do get that with music, and it's so fleeting. And the second you become aware of it, of course it disappears. But definitely in the studio, it's such a special thing, and I think it is sort of the drug that most musicians are chasing. I'm sure if you ask any of these musicians here, they'll tell you, when you're recording a track and you become aware that this is the definitive take, your whole focus starts to be like, stop thinking about it, stop thinking about it, stop. And it's so distracting. And you realize, wow, whatever it was, whether it was 30 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes, up
really
to that
felt
point,
good.
You were just in it. You were just in the music, and you were just some small part along with the bass and the drums and all the other things that are going on.
Well, nature does that too.
Absolutely.
Just being in a beautiful environment and being quiet really helps. But I love the fact that that's part of your journey and that you're sharing that. So we have a lot more music to get to. And
I should probably stop talking, frankly.
I think we're gonna play. We're gonna chase that magic that maybe we'll find. Let's try not to think about it if we find it, though.
Let's do it. Let's try a new one.
All right. Let's hear some more music. Welcome back, Bahamas.